All right, look at these instructions. The instructions say write an equation in standard form of the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope m, or that passes through the two given points. Now, we have talked about standard form a little bit, but what's important about standard form this. AX plus BY equals C. Okay, notice Y is not isolated. Notice that X and Y are on the same side of the equal sign. Okay, Y is not isolated. Y is not by itself. Also, here's another thing. A, B, and C cannot be fractions, and that's one thing we're going to have to learn how to deal with today. So you cannot have any fractions, and we're going to learn today that if we get a fraction, which we often do because slope is a fraction, sometimes the y-intercept is a fraction, how to deal with that. Okay? Now, look at the first one. We have the point for -1, and we have the slope of 3. Now, I'm going to start by using point slope form. Remember, point slope form says y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. All right? And I'm going to plug in x1 and y1 and my slope. So I'm going to say y minus a -1. What happens to minus a -1? That becomes y plus 1 equals the slope, 3 times x minus x1 is 4. That's point slope form. That's what we spent a couple of days doing, right? Now, we're going to start from there, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put it in slope-intercept form, okay? So I want you to take this, and I want you to go to slope-intercept form, which means we have to isolate y. So we're going to go to slope-intercept form by isolating y. Well, we got to get rid of these parentheses. So I'm going to say y plus 1. I'm going to distribute my 3 and get 3x minus 12, right? Got rid of my parentheses. Now I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and I get y equals 3x minus 13. I'm in slope-intercept form. Woohoo! All right. Now, let's see what we got to do next. Do I have any fractions? No. So, I'm good there. But are x and y on the same side of the equal sign? No. So, what I'm going to do, since y is over here hanging out by itself, I'm going to move my 3x. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Notice I cannot combine 3x and y. Those are not like terms, so I'm going to say minus 3x plus y equals the 3x minus 3x went away, minus 13. I've got a number times x plus a number times y equals a number. This is standard form, okay? This is standard form. I don't have any fractions. I'm good. So in one problem, I have point slope form, slope-intercept form, standard form, and they all represent the same line. Okay, look at the next one. I've got the point, -6, -10. I'm going to go ahead and label it x1, y1. I've got a slope of 1/6. That should be a little red flag here. I've got a fraction, and I'm going to teach you how to deal with that fraction. Okay? Let's put it in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. When I plug x1 and y1 in, I get y minus a -10, which becomes y plus 10 equals 1/6 times x minus a -6 becomes x plus 6. Okay? There's, not 1/2, 1/6. All right? Now, that is point slope form, right? Now we want to go to slope-intercept form. So we're going to distribute this 1/6. We're going to distribute the 1/6. We get y plus 10 equals 1/6 of x is just 1/6x. What is 1/6 times 6? 1/6 times 6 is 1, right? Okay. Then I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. And I end up with, and I'm going to write it over here, y equals 1/6x minus 9. right? 1 minus 10 is 9, okay? Now, that's slope-intercept form. I need to go to standard form. But the deal is I have this fraction, okay? Now, here's how you get rid of the fraction. Whatever that denominator is, we're going to distribute that whole, or that denominator to the whole equation. We're going to give that denominator to everything, all right? And look what happens. We're going to do 6 times y, which is 6y. We're going to do 6 times 1/6x. And then we're going to do a positive times a negative would be a negative 6 times 9. Now, you will not always show this step right here, but if you need to, or as long as you need to, do that. All right, so we get 6y. Look what happens. 6 times 1/6. My fraction goes away. Yay. Minus 6 times 9 is 54. Miss Laney calls this multiplying through by the 6 to get rid of that denominator. She calls that the magic number because it makes the fraction disappear. Now, that made my fraction go away, so I'm good there, but I'm still not in standard form because x and y are split up. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I get minus x plus 6y equals negative 54. So look at everything we did here. We started in point slope. We went to slope-intercept. No, slope-intercept was right here. And then we changed it to standard form. All right, let's do some more examples. Okay, on this particular slide, on these 2 examples, they give us 2 points, which means we're going to have to do what? We're going to have to find the slope, right? Okay, so let's find the slope of this first one. I'm also going to show you 2 ways to handle this. You really get to choose which way you want to do it unless you're told in instructions to do it a certain way, but I'm going to show you a couple of options you have, okay? Now, I'm going to find the slope of this first one, so I'm going to say 9 minus 1 over 3 minus 1, which is 8 over 2, so my slope is 4, okay? And just like we did before, we're going to pick a point. I like 1, 1. It's a pretty little point. It looks nice. Not a lot of big numbers to deal with, okay? On this example, I'm going to use point slope form. So I'm going to say y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. All right, I'm going to plug in. Y minus 1 equals the slope, that's 4, times x minus x1, which is 1. Now, let's put this in slope-intercept form. Clear the parentheses, distribute that 4x minus 4. Then I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I get y equals 4x minus 3. I'm in slope-intercept form. Not hard, right? Is it in standard form? No. X and y have to be on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Notice there's no fractions here, so I don't have to deal with any magic numbers. I get negative 4x plus y equals negative 3. Okay? So that one wasn't too bad. I got it in standard form, pretty simple. I started with point slope, I went to slope-intercept, and then I went to standard. Okay? I covered them all. Now, this next one, it's not quite as pretty. It's going to have a fractional slope, and it's got a fractional y-intercept, so it's got fractions all over the place. But I'm going to show you another way you can handle it instead of doing point slope form. But first, we got to find the slope, right? So let's do my slope. I get negative 4 minus 4 over 4 minus a negative 8. So I get negative 8/12, which is negative 2/3. Okay, so my slope is negative 2/3. I'm going to pick a point to deal with. I'm going to do the 4, negative 4, just because it looks maybe like it's a little easier. Now, on this one, instead of doing point slope form, on this one I'm going to solve for b like we did in section 2. Okay, so let's solve for b here. If we solve for b, I'm going to pick that point I said, and I'm going to say negative 4 equals negative 2/3 times 4. I'm plugging into slope-intercept form, right? Y equals mx plus b to solve for b. I get negative 4 equals, I'm going to put that 4 over 1, and I get negative 8/3 plus b. I'm going to add 8/3 to both sides. And b is, this is one you would not change to a decimal because thirds are not pretty decimals. So I'm going to put that negative 4 over 1. My common denominator is 3. And I get negative 12/3, right? So negative 12/3 plus 8/3 is negative 4/3. Isn't that a lovely y-intercept? So I get my slope-intercept form of y equals negative 2/3 x minus 4/3. Beautiful, right? Now, what's my magic number here? What's the denominator I'm trying to get rid of? I'm trying to get rid of a 3 because I need to make all these fractions go away. So I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 3. This is sort of like the distributive property, but not really. But I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to multiply everything, and I can do that because it's an equation. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And I'm going to say 3 times y, which is 3y, equals 3 times negative 2/3 x. And then my positive times a negative is going to make a minus 3 times 4/3. It gets ugly before it gets better, okay? But what happens? Those 3's simplify. I'm left with negative 2x. Those 3's simplify. I'm left with minus 4. And all of a sudden, the fractions are gone, and the birds are singing again. This is much prettier. Is it in standard form? No. We're going to add 2x to both sides. We get 2x plus 3y equals negative 4. Okay? All right. Now, look at that. Look how we did this one. This one we solved for b instead of putting it into slope-intercept form, and then we had to change it into standard form. So those are your options. You can do it either way. Okay, I want you to try these 4 by yourself because this is going to take practice. This is going to take just practice, 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 practice. So use your notes, use the examples I've given you, see if you can come up with the slope-intercept form of these lines and the standard form, and then turn the video back on and check it, and make sure you mark where you're having problems, mark where you have questions, mark where you don't understand what's going on. All right? So pause the video. This will take you a few minutes, then turn it back on and check your work. Okay, I know this is a lot of work that I've put on one little bitty piece of thing here, but check your work, check every step, make notes about where you're having difficulty, where did this come from, how did you get this. We will do practice with this in class. We're going to do 2 days of practice with this. So come with questions, come ready to do some examples, and we'll, like I said, we'll do more in class, and I'll see you tomorrow.